During a press conference at the NATO summit, President Trump reiterated how very, very successful the U.S. strike against Iranian nuclear facilities were, describing them as obliteration. Now, his remarks were made as news reports from like New York Times, NBC, MSNBC, and CNN are claiming that the extent of this damage is exaggerated. Well, I actually spoke with my own sources within the Israeli government earlier today, and President Trump's description is closer to the reality than that of the legacy media. Here to discuss this, Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Donald Trump, as she presently serves as the Vice President of the Heritage Foundation, Catherine and Shelby Davis Institute at the National Security and Foreign Policy. Victoria, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Tony.
So let's just start with this leaked intel report, which is just one of many reports of assessments of the success of the attack that would filter its way to the White House. Am I correct?
Oh, this is actually really one of the more shameful episodes and an undistinguished track record by the legacy media. So this is a preliminary report. And I remember when we used to get these things, we would immediately say, this is almost certainly wrong. This is the best we have right now. This is the first report. And so if you ever watch a news show, the first report of a disaster is almost always wrong. And that's why they're labeled low confidence, because the people assessing the situation aren't convinced that they're correct about it. And this was provided to Congress, which was immediately leaked. And for everyone who says the president should consult with Congress, I agree with that in principle. But in reality, everything you share with the Congress immediately leaks like this. And it goes straight to CNN and Natasha Bertram, and it then turns into Trump is lying. They'd rather be wrong, Tony, than give the president credit.
Yeah, it's really such a shame that, as a nation, we can't come together to, number one, wait to get the facts to see what our military did in terms of diminishing the capabilities of an enemy who has declared they want to kill us. They want to wipe us and Israel off the map. From all accounts, in my conversations with those inside the Israeli government, the operation was quite significant. It was successful. There's still some remaining concerns as they have to filter through more of the data, and of course they have some folks on the ground. But what are you basically hearing from the results of the weekend attack on these nuclear facilities?
What I'm hearing is that it was systematic damage, not surface damage, that it goes all the way down in. And I'm sorry, it's hard for me to see dropping 14 bunker busters on anything and having it survive. And the notion that it could just be topical is, it's just sort of laughable on the surface. And then we just had CIA Director Ratcliffe come out in the last hour and make an official statement saying this is false. This is not what I am hearing. This is not the intelligence that the agency is collecting. So, we have a preponderance of actual experts. A cabinet-confirmed secretary, the director of the CIA, comes out on the record and says something as opposed to an anonymous leak. And that's what we have to believe, and it's ridiculous that this happened in the first place. Very, very unfortunate, and I think the president's completely correct in his assessment of the situation.
Victoria, let's talk about going forward here. The Iranian regime was looking for an off-ramp. They got it in this ceasefire. It's fragile, but I think they're wanting to hold on to power. We've seen, reports that I got that they were able to rebuild a lot of their missile fuel production sites that were destroyed last October with the help of China. They were able to rebuild those. So we know that it's not going to be a static situation. What is the best way forward in securing a sense of managed peace in the Middle East?
Well, I think it's the threat that we might come back. And the president made that very clear. The Israelis have as well, that they are not going to just walk away from this situation. And now the Iranians know what we're capable of doing, particularly in conjunction with our Israeli allies. The combination is completely overwhelming to them. They have no defenses. They're completely exposed. And so if the message to them is you leave this stuff untouched or we're coming back, do you want to see those B-2s? Not that you can see them, but do you want those B-2s to visit you again? The answer is probably no. So okay, then don't, we can see what you're up to. And if you start, moving this fuel around, if you start rebuilding these facilities, we're going to have to come back.
So be good, or you're going to see the B-2s. But what about regime change? I know this is something the administration doesn't want to talk about, but I know that in Israel they would feel much more comfortable if there were a different form of government in Iran.
Well, the president did talk about it. I mean, he had that Truth Social post over the weekend, I guess, in which he said, if they can't make their country great, why wouldn't there be regime change? But my understanding is he thinks that's a question for the Iranian people. And both he and Prime Minister Netanyahu have spoken very highly of the Iranian people. There are some things we can do. I thought Elon Musk turning on Starlink, that needs a little bit of help in an encrypted sense to really assist the people of Iran. That's the kind of thing we could do that isn't 200,000 American boots on the ground.
Oh, yeah,
that can
absolutely.
Be really a game changer.
Absolutely. I mean, I would not advocate for that. But prior to the Obama administration, it was a priority to see a regime change in Iran, even within our own government.
Well, I mean, there is a reason for that. I mean, for 50 years, as you know as well as anybody, they've been chanting death to America. Interestingly, on CNN, they now think that's okay. They've had two separate commentators that I've seen in the last week say, yeah, they chant death to America, but afterwards they came up to me and said they love American culture and whatnot when they were last in Iran. It's like, honestly, that's your talking point? Is it okay to say death to America?
Well, just wait until one of these sleeper cells strikes something here in the United States, and then let's put the microphone in the face of one of these CNN commentators to see what they have to say.
100%. But I think there is not really much to be gained from trying to reform this government. It's simply too entrenched. It's too hostile. So, my preference would be for the Iranian people to choose a different form of government. And since they also have a mark out on me, I will not shed a tear. So
just 20 seconds left. Have they ever been at a point in recent years where they're more vulnerable to a change?
This is the most vulnerable, and they are at the most risk. And so we'll just have to watch this very closely. And I just say to your audience, watch the provinces. Don't watch Tehran. That's where it will happen.
Victoria Coates, always appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tony.